There's something about shopping malls. They're massive, echoing places filled with artificial light and too many strangers. Yet we never really think twice about safety when we step inside one. Maybe it's because we're conditioned to think of malls as safe, busy spaces, places full of people, food courts, bright stores, and background music. But when the lights dim and the crowds thin out, malls can become something else entirely. These are 3 terrifying, true shopping mall horror stories. And after hearing them, you might look at your local mall a little differently. Story 1. The Man in the Crawl Space. Narrated from the perspective of Ellie, a 24-year-old woman who worked in a retail clothing store at a mall. I started working at this small boutique clothing store in a mid-sized Ohio mall after college. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. The place was quiet during the weekdays, and we usually only had one person on shift at a time unless it was the weekend. About 2 months into the job, strange things started happening. I'd come in for my morning shift and find clothes scattered on the floor in the back room. Things I knew I folded the night before. At first, I chalked it up to being forgetful, or maybe one of the other employees being sloppy. But then, the alarms started tripping randomly during closing hours. Our store had a motion detector that would go off if someone moved inside after hours. 3 times in 1 week, mall security called our manager saying the alarm had triggered. But each time they checked, there was nothing. Then one day, something happened that made me never want to step foot in that store again. It was a Thursday night. I was working alone. Around 7 p.m., I noticed something odd. A faint scratching sound coming from the ceiling vent above the stockroom. I looked up and waited, but it stopped. I told myself it was just rats or something. This mall was old, after all. Later that night, I went to take the trash out through the back door that led to the mall's service corridor. As I stepped outside, I heard something behind me, a soft thud. I turned, and for a split second, I thought I saw something move behind a shelf in the stockroom. I backed away and called mall security, telling them I thought someone might have broken in. When they arrived and did a sweep, they didn't find anyone at first. But then they checked the crawl space above the ceiling tiles in the back room. That's when they found him. A man, filthy, in torn clothes, eyes wild, had been living in the crawl space. For how long? No one knew for sure. He had food wrappers, water bottles, even a small flashlight up there. He was sneaking down at night, moving around the store, probably watching us through the vents. Turns out he was a former maintenance worker who got fired months earlier. He knew all the ins and outs of the mall, how to move without being seen, where the cameras were, and how to avoid detection. He'd been using a spare key he never returned to access different stores after closing. And he wasn't just living in the ceiling above our store. He'd been moving around multiple locations. To this day, I think about the nights I worked late and wonder how many times he was watching me from above, completely unnoticed. Story 2. Closing Time. Narrated by Miguel, a night security guard. Back in 2016, I worked the overnight shift at a mid-size mall in Southern California. I'd clock in at 10 p.m. and patrol until 6 a.m. It was a chill job for the most part. Quiet. Sometimes too quiet. I always worked with another guard, Danny. We'd take turns walking the interior and exterior loops. The mall had this eerie silence at night. All those lights off, mannequins in store windows staring out at nothing, and the hum of HVAC systems echoing off tile floors. One night, around 3:30 a.m., I was doing an interior walkthrough when I noticed something weird. A children's clothing store near the food court had its gate slightly open, like someone didn't pull it all the way down. We're trained to make sure everything is locked up tight, so I went over to close it. As I approached, I heard something inside. Children's laughter. I froze. I thought maybe I was just tired and imagining things. But then I heard it again, clearer this time, giggling. Multiple kids. I immediately called it in to Danny. He was outside, so I waited for him before going in. The gate only lifted from the inside, so we had to use the emergency key to open the storefront. When we stepped inside, the place was empty. We checked every corner, every changing room, even the back inventory room. Nothing. But just as we were leaving, Danny pointed something out, a trail of small, dusty footprints on the tile floor, leading to the dressing rooms. Kid-sized footprints. No adults. We checked the mall cameras. From the moment I walked toward the store to the moment we left, no one had entered or exited. Management reviewed older footage, and here's where it gets unsettling. That same store had been the site of an incident in the 90s. A small child had gone missing during a weekend rush. Security swept the mall and she was never found. Just vanished into thin air. Some say she was abducted. Others believed something darker happened. Since that night, other guards have reported hearing giggles in the same area. Some refused to even patrol near it. I transferred to a different location 2 weeks later. I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone in that mall at night. Story 3. The Mannequin. Narrated by Leah, a part-time seasonal worker. I took a seasonal job at a department store inside a mall in Alberta. It was mostly folding clothes, helping customers cleaning up after closing. Nothing too exciting. The store had a display window facing the inside of the mall with several mannequins dressed in winter fashion. Most of them were headless, except for one. There was always something off about that one. Its eyes were a little too real. Its expression wasn't the usual blank stare. It had this subtle smirk, like it was amused. Creeped me out from day one. I joked about it with my coworkers, saying the mannequin was watching me. Most laughed it off. But one older employee, Barb, pulled me aside and told me never to talk about it out loud. She said years ago someone had broken into the store after hours and just vanished. Their body was never found. All they discovered was a shoe left in front of the display window. After that, weird things started happening. The mannequin would show up in different positions, even when no one had moved it. One morning, a coworker found it facing into the store, like it had turned on its own. Cameras never caught anything. Then one night while I was closing alone, I swear on everything, I saw it move. I was at the register finishing up the last few tasks before heading out. I looked up and saw the mannequin in the display window. But something was different. Its head was tilted. I stared at it, thinking maybe I was just imagining things. Then, the light in the display case flickered and its arm twitched. Just a small movement, but it definitely moved. I ran. I didn't even clock out. The next day, the manager said I left early and reprimanded me. But when I told her what happened, she just gave me this weird look and said, "You saw it too, huh?" Apparently, she had seen it move once as well, but she'd been working there so long, she just accepted it. I quit 2 days later, whether it's a ghost, a cursed object, or something we're not meant to understand. All I know is that mannequin wasn't just a mannequin. Shopping malls are supposed to be places of convenience, but behind the food courts and sales racks, some of them hide shadows that never left. Whether it's a man crawling through ceilings, ghostly giggles in the night, or something watching from behind glass eyes, these stories remind us that horror can live in the most familiar places. Next time you're at the mall, especially if it's quiet, look around. Just make sure something isn't looking back. Thanks for watching. And remember, the scariest stories are the ones that are true.